Good morning, it's Thursday and it's welcome to Blabbing for Brit with myself, John and Stephen. And over the course of the next hour or so, we're going to be live on air talking about everything British and possibly around the world as well, and getting to know a little bit more about each other. And you're more than welcome to join in by pressing the call-in button and chatting with us. If you have a question for us, if you type in the box, bottom right-hand corner, /Q followed by a question. If you want to make an observation, then please do so. Just type in it again, type in the send a message box, and one of us will see it. Right, good morning, everybody, again. This is live on air.
Stephen.
Right, okay, now then, I saw a tweet that you sent out yesterday, John, which said you just watched the best blab interview ever.
I think it was wasn't yesterday.
Oh, right, okay.
The tweet, I think, went round in the wash quite a bit. It was my most ever reacted to is not the thing, but it's had more likes and retweets than any other tweet I've ever tweeted. In fact, I think the blab that it was about was it was a blab by Offbeat Cops.
Okay.
And I think Sergeant TS we've met on our travels as well.
Yes, Sergeant TS called us grumpy old men, so yes, we remember him.
Yes. Well, Neil, that's his real name.
All right, okay, yeah.
A guy called Constable Chaos, who I don't know his real name. They interviewed a chief superintendent. In fact, the chief superintendent, Irene, and I've forgotten her surname now. Irene Curtis, has recently been awarded the OBE. But she's about to retire because she's reached the magic 30 years that they force you to retire in.
Yeah.
But she was brilliant. She talks about all the way from starting as a beat constable and all the way up to becoming chief superintendent. She's been a chief superintendent for about 10 years, I think. And for the last 2 years, she's been president of the Supers, which is the Chief Superintendent and Superintendents Association. But what was really good about it was it was open but structured. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In that they worked through a lot of things. But she was asked to give opinions in a way that you'd think, you wouldn't ask that of the boss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as I said, it was one of the best I've watched. And she was totally open, and she talked about how people are the most important thing in the police force, how you've got to look after them, how they're not good at looking after their people, what they need to do to get better, what her best ever case was that she's led, and it was really very, very, very interesting blab, really good. And I have to say I was impressed, so I'll happily in a minute post the link and people can make their own mind up. It did last well over an hour, but certainly well worth the watch.
The British police seem to have taken a liking to blab.
Yeah, well, this lady has driven the use of Twitter for the police force. That's why they wanted to interview her. And the guest list included policemen of all ranks from all over the country. So we had a superintendent from the City of London Police, constables, chief inspectors, all sorts of things in the audience, as well as mere plebs, and I use the word advisedly, plebs like me. And I really thoroughly, I actually learnt quite a lot about policing.
Was that officially sanctioned though, John, or was it personal views?
There was a mixture of, this is policy, and this is what I think we should do, yes, and this is what I have done, you know. And it was really, really very, very good. Kelvin's got it in now. Hiya, Kelvin. I hope you're all right today.
Yeah. Morning, Kelvin. Thank you. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, obviously we'll take a look at that blab because it's good to see them getting involved and using it, as you said, very effectively. There's always something to be
and I
learned.
think the lesson perhaps that can be taken is there was some structure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It didn't appear like nobody picked up a piece of paper and read it, but you could see there was definitely some structure. Irene talked about going to the palace and having her medal pinned on her, which was also quite interesting to know what actually happens.
Yeah.
But I think it's the potential corporate use of it, even though they did it as private individuals.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're generally not allowed to have private views aired in public, are they?
Believing in a matter of days, does it really? What can they do? You've been recently awarded the OBE, you're the head of the Chief Superintendents Association, and you're retiring shortly. Hardly tell you to bugger off, can they? But she was brilliant. And just, she's from your part of the world as well, Stephen.
Oh, up north.
Yeah, just north of Manchester. Well, she's a Lancashire lass.
Ah, oh, well, that says it all, doesn't it, really?
It's called Barracks Lass. That's her Twitter ID, @BarracksLass.
Right.
And I think she's from, I think she said Bolton, but definitely your neck of the woods anyway.
Bolton's 20 miles away from Burnley.
Yeah. So your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
But it was just down to earth. There was no airs and graces, just straight down to earth. Great discussion.
Right.
And a loss to the force as well, presumably, if she's been
I think
told
a big loss to the force. And I got the impression that she doesn't know what she's going to do because she only ever wanted to be in the police force. And she started as a post-university, although she was not a graduate entrant. She started right at the very bottom.
Yeah.
As a trainee.
Right. Okay. Well, Peter managed to come in. Then we saw him fleetingly for a minute, so perhaps he'll pop back.
Yes. Well, Peter's quite interesting because Peter did his first streaming reply to a question on Facebook.
Ah.
So it'd be interesting to get him back in a bit and have a chat with him and see how he feels that went.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna send a tweet. Now, when I send a tweet from here now, as host, I can't just press a button. I've got to type something in.
It's horrible.
It is.
Yeah, and you've got a link to click, because I just tweeted one as well about, the fact that we're on now.
Yeah.
Seemed to go okay. It worked okay, but I was a bit... It's not very intuitive, is it? Let's face it.
I think it's a backward step if you're a host.
Indeed.
It gives you freedom if you're a guest.
Yeah. And it gives you freedom in promoting it as well, because you can put your own text in. I was able to put in, quite a bit of text yesterday when I did it. But when you're live, they should have two versions. One for when you're actually a host or a guest and you want to tweet out, and then a second version where you can type it all in.
Oh, he's got some new hats. He's come to show us his new hats. Look. I think there need to be two buttons now: a host version and a guest version.
I agree with that.
And also, I got caught out by the double-click hang-up the other day.
Right. Okay.
Because now you have to press twice to exit. And I clicked once and then walked away, only to come back to the screen to see the lovely hole in the wall. And you could see that full hole in the wall because I left the chair like that. So,
oh dear. Right. Okay. Morning, Peter. Do you have sound?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, you're a bit quiet, but we can hear you.
Good to see you on our 14th show. Who'd have thought we'd make it this far? It's brilliant.
I've something to tell you.
Yep.
Yeah? Not doing, from a pest control business, not doing great with Facebook, don't know what that noise is, but I thought, right, I know that video is going to be the future. Right?
I've been talking about this already about you.
So what I done was I bought myself a selfie stick, and me and the guy, one of the guys that works with me, I just put it on, and I decided, I said, I'm going to tell you about how I got into pest control, blah blah blah, and then I then what was it I done? Oh, I spoke. I called it Achtung about a German cockroach and an Oriental cockroach as it goes through. We're just talking normally, and I was asking them questions. And this is, but what's the main difference between Oriental cockroach and a German cockroach? And I'm doing this on the screen, and I said, well, the main difference is when you stand in the German, it shouts Achtung. Yeah? And that was the end of it. And do you know something? I boosted it. I put £3 a day. There has been over 7,000 views with it.
I saw your question answer that you did as well on streaming.
Oh, did you say? Well, what one was that?
You answered somebody's question about. You said this was my first video answer to a question.
That's right, and it was actually about a guy's house that was wanting me to come and spray, and they said, "What are you scared of?" And I said, "Well, snakes." And
that's the snakes, yes.
This guy had a cobra and a rattlesnake. And I thought,
right, yeah.
But what I've clicked onto it now, I'm also in BNI. With a big meeting yesterday with 50s in the room, and I asked if I says I've made a little song, right? And I'm going to do that, and I sang it for just a thing for it. And you know something? So what I'm trying to do is get it. Somebody said, "Well, get it viral locally," because I only want local business with it. But one of the best things, and I knew in the future that would be one of the ways to go, and it's not kind of scripted. It's just me and Willie. We're going to go to burger vans. We're going to have a laugh. We're going to have a joke, and then also tell them about pest control as we go along. And I'm I've had an inquiry today from Facebook. So,
Good.
Your thoughts on that then?
Are you saying, therefore, Peter, that Facebook is becoming very much more useful to you in the business sense, rather than what it was traditionally, which was your friends and not LinkedIn and Twitter?
Yeah, for my pest control business, with our business as well, it's hard. So it's more about info. But what I found is with youngsters, not us. But sorry to say, guys, they like.
It was said last week, Peter. It was said last week.
They like to have a laugh, and and pest control can be funny, yet it can be serious. So what I try and do is have a laugh. For example, we'll maybe do this song and do that, and then at the end say, "But listen, pest control's got a serious side."
Yeah.
Do you know the fines that can be given if you have pests on a food premises? Up to £20,000. So I'm going to go that route as well.
Yep.
And then go back to being funny, So,
that's the thing, isn't it? Comedy always wins out these days. You watch an advert. You watch the ads. And most of them are dreadful, but the ones that get your attention are the ones that have got comedy in it.
Yeah. That's it. It's all about you've got to get attention, haven't you?
So what is 7,000 views good for that short period of time? What would you think?
Surely. If you gain
local.
Yeah, if you gain that number of views, then you gain responses from it. I mean, the key is people actually coming back and doing something. I think I was been a bit vague about this before, but you've got the sort of headline, you've got the content, and then you need a call to action. Yeah, and at the end of it should be a call to action for people to actually do something, press something, so that they get involved and you get feedback.
Well, one of the things I'm doing, pest control. When did you last use it? We're an emergency type of service.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm doing is putting my name in, and I've actually got new pens that I've give a customer now. That's not one of these. It's one of these, and what I do is give them that, right, and it's got one of that things for your iPad at the end. When you push it, it's a pen.
Yep.
So I'm starting to give it, but the only way I can do it with Facebook is get them to know me, get them to ask questions. what I'm delighted about is people in the club are absolutely laughing about it and sharing it. And so I can only add to it. So I'm going to do the song and then just building up from it, and get the guy Willie that works for me as well, get him known, because he loves a burger. The van will not pass a burger van, you know.
Right. Okay.
I'm sure it's in his sat nav. And what I want to do is I want to get him known as well, because if they know us in 6 weeks, in a year, in 6 months, they'll give us a.
That's it. Yeah.
So I'm quite happy with that. But Facebook for business, I found hard. You know.
Sorry, what do you mean by that? Do you mean an app called Facebook for Business, or using Facebook for Business?
No, using Facebook for that particular business. No, for the speaking business, people like retargeting, like speaking, people selling books, people selling courses to come to their courses, and retargeting for the speaking business. That's a way that I will look to advertise with that, and then have a click and give 7 reasons about speaking and stuff like that to collate them names. Yeah. So that's Pete Safe for the morning. Have you been missing me?
Of course we have. Yeah. Yourself? Yeah. We have. Yeah. We've been going. You got us started, which was brilliant. Yourself and Kevin. Right, this demonstration from Kelvin's come in. Do you have a YouTube account, Peter?
Yes, I have no, that's another funny thing, because it changed. I have a YouTube account, and there's a beautiful girl gets more looks than me. It was a customer.
Right.
That is a pain in the butt, because I had so many. They changed it. It went with your Google Places or something like that, and it was a pain in the backside.
Yep.
I've never really done much with the YouTube channel, but I'm going to have to target it down and get, because I actually lost to get into my original account, because they changed the way it happened. Maybe you know about that, maybe you don't, but it was a pain in the butt.
Right, so they're in your bad books at the moment.
Well, it's just to make it so complicated to get on. It's now linked to, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's now, your channel is now linked to your Gmail account.
Correct.
I believe, right?
Yeah.
And I've got so many Gmail accounts for different things.
No, it's not quite that. You now have a Google account, and you link all the different Google products to a Google account. So the Gmail can be linked to a Google account, and there. Yeah. So what you do is just pick one of those. But can I tell you, YouTube, I've got a client. 2 clients I'll talk about on YouTube. One has got a holiday home in North Wales, just outside place with a big castle, beginning with Harlick's the word I'm looking for. Now, whatever I tried to get him up to the front, and even on the front 3 pages of a Google search, it just wouldn't work. Whatever I tried, because there's effing millions of them. Yeah. And so it's bloody hard work. So what we did was I went over, I spent half a day there. I took 260 photos of the area and everything, and I put them together as a video. And that video ranks on page 1 for about 12 different search phrases. So you can get round. I've also got another client in Birmingham City Centre who I do PPC for. Yep. And as an experiment, I put together a video of one of their properties. They're a commercial property agency, and I put together a video of one of the properties because I actually had access to the photos, because this company took over a company I used to look after and lost, and then came back because they were amazed at the value that they were getting with such a small PPC expenditure compared with what they were doing themselves. Yep. But my son had taken the photos of this particular building because it was in Alton. So I had access to those. I built a very simple just video of photos with a couple of slides either end. And again, it doesn't come on page 1, but it comes on page 2.
Yeah.
For some of the most competitive words that, you know, in the morning, those words on PPC for like £7.50, and we're getting on to page 2 with a YouTube video.
Yeah.
So seriously, YouTube is definitely a good way for your business. But what you've got to have done is got your keywords right.
Right. I
get keywords right in your YouTube. And then the other thing is you've got to make your mind up here, because Guy discussed this one on a blog that I was on with him. I think it was in yesterday or the day before, but certainly recently. Is you can actually embed your website address in the description.
That's right.
On a YouTube video. Now, Guy has the argument that if you've pushed and worked hard, do you not want the people to watch the video, or do you want them to go to your website?
Yeah.
So he says he likes to get his link in the out end of the video, so you watch the video and then link.
Yeah.
But also buying a view, I suppose.
Also with video, you can actually put cards on the video. So that, I mean, on videos I put up after here, we'll have a link back to my website, a link to the Blabbing for Britain playlist. And as you actually, as soon as you watch the video, top right-hand corner is an eye for information, and it gives all the links down there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can now, though, what you can do is you can put a slide image as the last, and then you can put 3 areas.
All right. Okay.
In YouTube itself, you can highlight those 3 areas. So say you had 3 pictures, and you can link them to another video, you can link them to the website, etc. So there's lots and lots of tools that you can really use in YouTube that will give you a bit of a boost, Pete.
I have to go back. I mean, I put in, if you put in Wasp Control Aberdeen, that comes up on Google. Now, I used to have it used to be me, right, telling you, and it was a real scruffy video. But then I got a customer, and I caught a beautiful woman, and I said, hey, tell me what happened. And do you know that more than doubled the views that I had, right? Because luckily enough, she comes up on the screen as the still, and then they click onto it. So I did, I mean, all in the past I've used YouTube, but I couldn't get back into my original account. That's what was cheesing me off. Yeah. Couldn't get back into my original account, and I've got videos in there, and people were saying to me, put up more, and doing Wasp and things. So I'm going to have to start all again. I won't mention his name, but I've done a course, an online course for YouTube, doing YouTube and things. So I know the value of it, because people like to see, in pest control, they like to see lots of cockroaches and things moving about, you know. So they love all that. Anyway, I'll let somebody else get in if they want to speak.
Okay, brilliant to see you, Peter. But you're okay. You're okay for the moment.
Like the nice caps.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, let me tell you something else. I changed that to white, so it's got Aberkill Pester. Now, what I've done was I've got my, well, not did it, but I got jackets, and I put my name of the business and what we do on the right hand side, Aberkill Pest Control on the side, not just the name. So. And I see people looking, I watch their eyes, and they keep looking at it and looking at it. And if people approach me now and say, is that what you do? And then they'll ask a question, you know. And I've to work with that. Just watch their eyes. So to anybody listening, if you've got a business name, make sure that people see it on your car. Get a magnetic one. I've got magnetic ones in my van, are really trimmed and fitting. Get your name in your uniform, get your name out there, and people will see it and use everything that you can to get your name up there.
Yeah, I've got no excuse. Look, I'm wearing one with an everyday international logo, and I've got the
logo on too.
My brother's got an embroidery company. my sister runs it for him.
No, because see, if I see somebody say it, look, you've got that logo. If I go into people say to me, how can you speak to people? Listen, I wore a tiny little badge one day, a badge. It was an ex-military badge, my regiment. Did I tell you how much I got for that? I did.
Yeah, you did.
£5,000 because I wore that badge. Was it worth it? You're damn tooting it was worth it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I'm saying. So if you'd had a logo on your shirt, and I didn't know you, John, you were sitting in a cafe, I would approach you and say, "Oh, I was looking at your what do you do then?" And the next thing, before you know it, you'd be sitting next to me having a coffee.
Yep.
Right, next.
Having the logo is important. Hang on, is that the right way up?
He's got a, yeah. Now,
That's
I've tried to find a vector version of that piece of artwork. I can't.
That's the real thing. Yeah. Yeah, there's I've got a URL somewhere with all the artwork on.
All right, because I'm looking for a vector version.
Oh, I don't know about that. You're talking foreign language to me, but I've got a link to the icons. How's that? All right. Okay. Yeah, I'll give you a link. I'll dig that link out. All right. Okay.
Still on that T-shirt subject. Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother, about 5 months ago, invested in an Epson printer that actually prints directly onto the T-shirt.
Wow.
So previously he would print a transfer, they'd iron the transfer on and all that.
Yeah.
So now, and it's working well, it has a platen in it, and the front of the inkjet is about that wide, so you can put all sorts of different things in. And it prints a full frontal design on a T-shirt in black and white in under a minute, and under 2 minutes in full colour. And it's completely washable, the works. And it prints on any colour of T-shirt as well, because it's got white ink as well. So,
technology, eh? Cool.
Yeah, 23,000 euros though.
Well, right. Yeah.
For him, it's worth it, because you've cut a massive chain of, I'll print this, I've got to take this, cut it to size, I've got to position it perfectly, to positioning it well, and leaving the machine and coming back 3 minutes later, taking it off and putting the next shirt on. So his volume capability has rocketed.
Yeah.
And as he says, with today's leasing anyway, because he's leased it, he hasn't bought it, he can fully offset every monthly payment anyway. So
good stuff. Right, okay, stay with technology for a moment. In the news this week has been a certain iPhone and a request from the FBI that the iPhone be hacked by Apple themselves to retrieve information, because the phone belonged to a person who was involved in the San Bernardino shooting last December. Should Apple provide the FBI with access?
I think they should, personally, but an awful lot of people don't.
There's a lot of debate about it, and there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of spinning going on. I mean, and Apple and the US government are as guilty as each other on that respect. The issue about what the FBI actually want is they just want to access the data on the device, but they can't, because if they use more than 10 attempts to crack the password, the phone will just self-erase, and it's all the data's gone forever, so to speak. And there's it's all come about because about a couple of years ago, I don't know if it's iOS 7 or 8, they by default encrypted everything on the device. Previous to that, you could take a copy of the iPhone and then do the brute force thing that the FBI want to do. It goes down to it's as bad as Donald Trump's got involved now with his big mouth and saying, of course, Apple should absolutely do this, and he has no idea what the issue actually is and are. But I believe that it would be simple for Apple to provide a sort of diagnostic tool to override the 10 attempts, password attempts, which would then give the authorities under a judicial order the ability to brute force the thing, to do a brute force attack, because there's only 4 characters in the password, which is about 10,000 attempts.
That's right. Yep.
Get it? Yep. So I think there's such a lot of spinning going on. It's really difficult to get at what the actual issue is. Apple are saying it's the end of security. There's people in the UK saying if Apple do this, then nobody should ever buy an American device again, because there's no encryption, there's no authentication or trust.
Yeah.
Where it'll end, well, it'll be in the Supreme Court.
There are two sides to the argument. One is that it's a criminal investigation. The person involved is actually deceased, and the FBI don't want it to be cracked. They just want the ability to crack it. And then the other side of the story is that would our own iPhones or Androids be safe going forward? I mean, we back up all information to the cloud anyway.
This is true. I mean, I don't know what this geezer did with his kit and how sophisticated he was, but yeah, you can back up an iPhone. My iPhone's backed up to my MacBook, and then it's got backed up to a disk. Yeah. I don't actually use iCloud for backing up my iPhone. Don't know why, but yeah, and it's so. If you don't back your stuff up, you shouldn't be surprised when you lose data. And I often tweet out saying, for God's sake, just take a few moments to back your stuff up, because once it's gone, it's gone. And when was the last time we ever sort of kept a paper receipt or an invoice? I don't know, Peter, if you're doing it online invoicing at the moment or anything like that. In fact, all of you. But if you lose your MacBook, if you lose your PC, or you lose your phone, if you ain't backed it up, you're in trouble. Yeah. Did this geezer back his stuff up? Who Lord only knows.
Indeed.
I just don't see. I regret the fact that there's such a lot of spinning and misinformation out there about what is essentially a very technological problem, which there will be a solution for. But and you sort of the back of your mind, you sort of think about all the revelations, the Snowden revelations about the NSA and what goes on there, and you think, well, they've probably already got it, and this is just a smoke screen. But I don't know how it's going to pan out, but I do fear for it a little bit. I always say that the internet will never be, nobody will ever be able to rule the internet, to censor the internet, or to stop it growing. And there was a TED talk. I went to the I don't know if you know, but TED 2016 launched in Vancouver in Canada Monday, and Odeon Cinemas were one of the bunch of cinemas who showed the evening session of the first day live. So we bowled up to Trafford Park and watched it. And there was 5 presentations, and I can drop a link on any time about it. They were fascinating. But there was a guy from Google X who was talking about putting Wi-Fi routers, comms, into the balloons in the stratosphere. Yeah. And he was talking about the potential to bring another 3.5 billion users onto the internet. Now you sort of think to yourself, okay, how on earth can you get a trust infrastructure to cater for an additional 3.5 billion people? And the decision that it'll be the Supreme Court eventually. I just ponder the question. It's mind-boggling, actually. So that's just my 10 pence for it.
Right.
But Steve, what do you think about? How do you think? If you had to bet on it, who would win?
Well, if it's for terrorism,
yep,
and there's a chance of me being ripped apart with shrapnel, I want them into that phone. So if it's for terrorism, if it's for criminal, I don't know if that's different, because once you give police a power or something like that, because I've experienced something recently that I wasn't allowed to speak my mind. And if you give that power, like for instance, the only way a policeman can stop you filming, okay, is for an act of terrorism if you're in a public place.
Right.
Right? So I got into something and I filmed it. And he says, you kept saying putting it away. And I goes, no, I says, the reason I'm not putting it away is to protect you and me. And he backed down. They backed down. I went to take my phone off me and delete it. I says, no, they're not doing it. And if you do it, it'll be illegal. And they got a police sergeant. I was speaking in my mind at some place. Yeah. And there was 200 other people demonstrating. And I was the sole one. And I said something and the police moved into me, and then they tried to take my phone, but it's only in terrorism that can do that. So you'll always get somebody who will manipulate it. For instance, recently with the press, look what happened. The police were hacking the press to see who their informants were.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. That's Peake Buttonworth.
Right. Okay. Now, in other, just keep staying with British news for a moment. Has anybody heard about the changes, the sculpture at Tintagel?
I know you have.
I wish I could post a picture.
What is that? What is it?
Right, Tintagel, which is supposedly Arthur's seat, and the is linked with the legend of the Round Table and a whole host of other things. And it's a natural castle, a beautiful place, a wild place. And English Heritage decided in their wisdom that it would be better if they had a sculpture in there. No, not just a freestanding sculpture. They created a sculpture out of the rock of, it's supposed to be Merlin. Now, as far as we know, Merlin's never been to Tintagel. So there's been an outcry that they should actually put what is a tourist, just, what's the word I'm looking for here? They've actually pandered to tourism and ruined something which is natural. That's my point anyway.
You're talking about gilding a lily, aren't you, and putting an additional fragrance onto a rose, which isn't needed.
Yeah, I wish I could post a photo. I can give you a link. That's probably the best thing to do. Just excuse me a moment.
Stephen put it on his Facebook as well, and what he hasn't told you is that what was it? Not the Environment Agency.
I've got a direct reply. You're quite right. I was quite amazed by this on two counts. Yeah. Sorry, carry on, Stephen.
Yeah, and they were just sort of trying to justify their actions to Stephen, which was really, well, I thought it was good that they made the effort to reply to Stephen's comment. I'm not sure how quickly we were about it, Stephen, but I just like the fact that they actually listened to you. And I like how you said, okay, I'll give it a go, and I'll have a look next time I'm up there. So
yeah.
And you can see that there'll be somebody in social media in, what is it, National Heritage or something?
English Heritage,
thinking, Christ, when's he going to go there?
Well, English Heritage do a brilliant job to preserve a number of properties throughout the UK, mainly castles, and they don't have any public money. It's by subscription only, and I used to be one of those who subscribed.
Don't they get lotteries?
So they do a sterling job, and it just seemed odd. But the second thing about it is, as you said, Stephen, is they did reply because I tagged them in the post. I was able to tag them in the post because I liked their Facebook page. So to me, it brings about the power of liking a page on Facebook, not only to see their posts, but also to communicate with them. Because we've often spoken in the past about people monitoring their own brand on Facebook. And English Heritage were on the ball and were monitoring their brand. They saw mention, they were tagged, they responded to it. They're not tracking everything because it was shared out by two other people as well. But liking and tagging works. I'm convinced now. It
does, as long as you're not doing it with Birmingham Airport. Because I was trying to book a car park space the other day. The website was something, it might have been my settings, I don't know. But I sort of asked them politely online to sort something out, and never heard another word back from them. So maybe not all people are looking after their social media accounts, but the ones that do, they're going to get benefit from it, huge benefit.
So I'll take a trip down to Tintagel and I'll report back sometime later in the summer.
When you've taken a mortgage out for the car park fees.
It's a beautiful place, though, isn't it?
It's lovely.
We have to visit.
Some things are.
Yeah. The beauty of it, we're heading towards spring now, which is a time to dust off your National Trust card and go visiting.
True.
You've been visiting recently anyway. I've seen some of the photos you've been posting.
We're very lucky in that we live in Wiltshire, and Wiltshire is the home not only of Stonehenge and Avebury, but also of Lecoq. And Lecoq is obviously a wonderful place to go to because it's the home of photography. It's where it all began. And in fact, his name escapes me, but there's a museum there. Hopefully Kelvin might type the name in a minute. And there's the photographic museum there. And it's the history of photography in the UK. And that's the place that the first ever photograph was taken from.
Is that Bradford? The Bradford Photographic Museum?
No, this is Lecoq Abbey, which is down in Wiltshire. And the gentleman there, and if I don't get his name now, I'll come back to it next week. He invented what is known as, we know the French version, daguerreotypes, etc. But he was the first person to do photography in the UK, and he took the first ever picture. The first ever picture where you had a negative, which then goes into developer, fixer, and then wash. The first ever photograph was taken there. So there's an exhibition about photography.
Fox Talbot.
Thank you. Yeah, if you Google Fox Talbot, you find that he was the father of all things photographic, not just in the UK but around the globe, because he was the first one to create a photograph. The Lecoq is also famous for something more recent than that, in that scenes from Harry Potter were shot there as well. But I think Fox Talbot may have been more important than Harry Potter, because if it wasn't for Fox Talbot, we might not be on Blab today, and that's literally true. Yeah, so I enjoy taking photographs down at Lecoq, the home of photography, and it's only sort of 15 miles away, so it's absolutely brilliant. Right, anything else in the news this week?
I'm just tweeting this in a second, and I'm saying Blabbing for Britain. Now on to gravitational waves. Because let's see how that goes.
We've got gravitational waves, haven't we? Didn't we do that the other day? Or was that the blog? No,
don't know. But there was an announcement this week that they finally got proof of the existence of gravitational waves. Yeah. For a science fiction fan like I am.
I have definitely been involved in a discussion on gravitational waves on a Blab this week. Obviously, wasn't here.
And how did it go?
Somebody was waving a hanky round and trying to explain gravitational waves with a hanky.
So they spend £5 billion on the project, and you reckon your mate reckons that he can demonstrate?
Who it was. I've got to say that I've got into a habit now of having a Blab on in the background.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's Kelvin's just friends, rattering or nattering, whatever he calls it, because that lasts for hours.
Yeah, it's having Blab in the background is brilliant because you get a chance to listen to so many different
things. How long yesterday's Blab lasted. Do many people know Jorvik? He's a bit of a wizard on networks. That's networks as in electronics networks and joining computers together. He was in Henley-on-Thames when the Blab started. When the Blab finished in the afternoon, I left at 1:45. He was back home in Yorkshire. And he'd been on in 3G at the start and was back home on his PC. And it was the same Blab.
Anyway, Stephen, back to your topic.
Gravitational waves. It's utterly fascinating. And the fact that we're all being affected, but we don't know it, by these, for us, tiny changes in space-time. But the key thing for me was that the involvement of British researchers. It was very much an American-led project, but the amount of effort, the amount of input from the Brits, it was nice to see, nice to hear. And there's, it might be a little bit superfluous, but I said that on Twitter somewhere, or maybe Facebook. Now that we found the carrier wave, using gravitational waves as carrier waves, can you imagine the information we could stick on that from way out back in time and all that sort of thing. So it was just my sci-fi head going on a bit of a twizz, really. And you sort of see the people say, well, what's the bloody point? So what? You're spending all this money on science, and they don't realise that the technology that's been developed to come up with this information will filter through to the real world, so to speak. And I just want to say one thing. It's a different subject, but you know, Tim Peake is currently circling around the planet.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if you know, but on New Year, I think it's Christmas Day, he tweeted a photo from inside the ISS with a photograph with a Stoke City Football Club flag.
Right, okay.
So that's really pretty neat for us Stokies, so to speak.
Stoke City in space.
Exactly, and there was no other.
That was where the other fan was. Was it in?
Hey, sorry?
I said, was that where the other fan was? You know, him in space.
Don't worry, Stephen. That's Aston Villa humour.
John, my apologies. I didn't realise you were afflicted in that fashion. Are you a Villa fan?
I'm not really a football fan in that I don't go to football matches. I've probably been to 4 football matches in my life. Tottenham match when I was on a course in London when I was a kid, and I've been to 3 Coventry City matches. But if I look at the results, it's the Villa I look for first.
Well, they're here. They're coming to Stoke next weekend after this.
Well, I'm going to turn into a Walsall fan, I think, because I've already posted on Facebook a number of times that we're going to have control of the championship next season for the West Midlands, because we're going to have Birmingham City, Aston Villa, Wolverhampton and Walsall.
Yeah, you got it all sewn up next year. If they're not the top 4,
I can't see Walsall staying in the championship, if I'm really honest, which will be a real shame, because they just don't have the dosh. And like you need a lot of dosh in the to survive in the Premiership, which is the reason we're sitting at the bottom of the table.
Yeah,
you need a lot of dosh to survive in the Championship these days as well.
Yeah, it's very competitive.
As a supporter of Burnley, you would only know that yourself. Yeah.
True. I mean, Burnley fight above the weight all the time. In terms of support, because the town's only a population of 70,000, and the ground is it's a Premiership ground. It always has been, but they don't have the money to buy the star players. So it's like West Brom a bit. It's yo-yo football.
West Brom aren't yo-yo, are they? They're just stuck around 13th, 14th.
Yeah.
And that's where they've been all season, 13th or 14th. Yeah. Did you see the interview with the Ginger Marino yesterday on BBC? It's still up there on BBC Sport today.
No.
The Ginger Marino being Mr. Dyche.
Ah, right. Okay, that's what they're calling him now.
Well, they've been calling him the Ginger Marino for 8.
I was calling Mr. Dyche.
No, well, he's called the Ginger Marino by the. But it was a good interview. He's certainly got a sense of humour. And the interviewer even had his toenails done by the club podiarist. How do you say it?
Podiarist.
Yeah. But then the guy's outside and he's interviewing one of your leading players, and Dyche is shouting instructions out the window, the toilet window, of what he can and can't say. It's absolutely hilarious, but well worth the watch, and did show you the level of investment going on at Burnley, because it showed you all the things that are being developed and the building work that's going on at the training ground. So if you get a chance on BBC Sport on the internet, I'm sure you'll find it still there.
Okay, I will check that out. Right, anything else happening this week?
I noticed. Someone in a golf club, his wife got a letter saying that their golf club fees are going up considerably.
Yep.
And the reason is because the wages are going up to £7.20 minimum.
Yep.
And they said, and this is to compensate for the people who are on that above that wage as well, to the whole mechanism to compensate.
Yep. Upwards, yeah.
Yeah, we've discussed this in Prospect Networking, haven't we, Stephen?
Oh, I didn't know. So but that's the cost of one golf club. What's it going to do to the rest of the industry? You know?
John?
Well, we discussed it in our group, which I thought you were a member of, actually, Peter. And Sue posted it, Sue Butcher, and she's. I think she missed the point. The point he was trying to make was that the golf club is having to pass it on to its customers, and his concern was if the customers leave the golf club employees will have no work. But it's been interpreted that he's complaining about the cost of rising in playing golf. It's not what he was intending to mean. What he's trying to say is, if all of these small businesses have to increase their costs to the customer and the customer goes away, we're going to end up with more unemployed people and therefore more people on benefits.
Quite interesting.
You do a great job of writing, I think that's the problem.
I mean, I'm looking at us guys here. How many of you employ people? None. It's quite interesting that. I employ 2 people now, you know.
Yeah.
It eats away at your money. Even, no, it's not the best of wages. But, I mean, even in Aberdeen, do you realise guess how many people have been made unemployed in realistic terms up here with the oil?
Thousands, I would have thought.
75,000 have lost their jobs. Now, they'll tell you how much a company's losing that week, but what they don't tell you is about the contractors, people like us who are getting no more work. That's not getting paid off. It's just no more work. And most of the
supply chain, isn't it?
Yeah,
sexy.
Yeah. Most of the industry's contractors have been making a hell of a lot of money. And then one guy turned up to a food bank with a Ferrari, and he says, "I know you're looking at it." He says, "But it's going tomorrow. My house is already gone."
Yeah.
So that's how bad it is, and the effect of people losing their jobs. Scary times up here, to be honest with you. Scary.
Is that due to the oil price crash?
The oil prices crashed. They just can't take the money out. I mean, our housing market, it's had its biggest depression coming on already. They're seeing it in all sorts of markets. And I mean, for Aberdeen, we've got about 3 or 4 food banks now.
Yeah.
And people applying to me for my pest control job, saying, "Have you any jobs?" And it's quite. So we're in a kind of bubble, and that's the problem. You don't know really what's happening to it, but it's really affecting us now. Really affecting us.
Yeah,
people are saying that Asda have closed down their food collection service, and charities are up in arms about it.
Yep.
Did you see that, Stephen?
Yeah, as you said, Asda have decided not to have the permanent food banks, and the decision came from on high, which means it came from Walmart in the States. Yeah. And the charities were told by the manager that the food bank had stopped, and that was it.
Yeah.
And Stephen,
one of the reasons was, and it's such a shame, I know some people were actually shoplifting from the baskets that they had for the people.
Oh, hello, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, we have an emergency situation with Stephen. Hope you're okay, mate.
But somebody said, "Well, why don't they get staff to watch it?" It costs money for staff to stand over a basket, you know. And
now this is where people donate food.
Yeah,
and people are nipping out of it.
Oh,
yeah. And people were actually taking food from in, and people were steering it. That's how low people can get. And then they'll cry them everything. "Oh, you should be giving it out." But they're a business. They're a business. Who they should be shouting at is the government. That's who they'd be shouting at.
Yeah.
What happened, Stephen?
You're okay.
Oh, it's okay. I'm all right. I'm fine. I was trying to get a bit more light. Right. Okay. These things happen.
We're on live blab, do we?
Well,
recorded. I watched the replay later. Right. Okay. We're going to stop recording shortly. Yeah, John. Because we've been going for.
Did you know you can zoom in on the map? I didn't until Kelvin showed us the other day.
All right, I can't see. I can never see the map.
The map up in the corner.
Yeah, the top right-hand corner. All I can see is
a web page on that now.
Yeah, is a grey thing.
I didn't even know you could do that. The
Right.
interesting thing is that our other gentleman from up north, Kevin, just left us, unfortunately. If you zoom in when he's on, he's in the middle of a lake or a loch.
All right, okay.
You see, I use an iPad to watch it. I don't use a laptop. I usually use my laptop.
Yeah, well, I'm on a
desktop.
I'm on a desktop PC.
On MacBook.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm on iPad, and you've actually to turn the iPad, not the long way, but a portrait. You have to turn the portrait to look at it. It's a pain in the butt.
Ah, look who's joined us.
Who is it?
Oh, it's the grumpy old.
Talking about him, his ears must have been burning.
Indeed, we mentioned him earlier in the session. Welcome, sir. And if you're going to tweet this week, you more than welcome to do so. But if you can just leave out the grumpy old men bit, it's most grateful.
People are we now? We're not grumpy at all.
Yeah, well, we've covered a great deal of subjects. I'm going to go off recording. I'd like to thank everybody who's watched. We're not going anywhere, but if you tuned in today to watch us, thank you. We'll be back next Thursday at 10 o'clock, and you're welcome to join us then and ask any questions. You can catch the replay later if you missed the beginning, which was an awesome beginning. We talked about many interesting things. But thank you, and we hope to see you again next week. And the recording button. Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.